Ian Desher, Digital Marketing Specialist. Oh, I am so used to saying Digital Marketing Specialist, but as of just a couple weeks ago, actually, I am now Creative Director. This is Ian Desher, Creative Director from Pivot Group, talking at you. Same guy, new title. Anyway, thanks for joining me today at Straight Talk on Social Media. We were going to be talking about the Facebook social graph, but I have not yet been made part of that beta test, so here's hoping we'll schedule it again for next time. Instead, what we're going to do today is something that I think will be a little bit fun and something that's appropriate for the weekend ahead, and you'll know what I mean in just a few minutes. But before we get into that focus topic, let's talk about a little bit of news from the last couple of weeks. And as a reminder, if you have any questions during the webinar, please go ahead and use the GoToWebinar control panel, and you can put those questions in there, and I'd be happy to answer those. So first thing in the news, it was reported that Facebook had a really good fourth quarter of 2012 and had a big boost in their revenue, and this is indicative of a few things. First of all, a lot of their new tools and new things that they are offering for marketers, things like GIFs and things like that, are starting to pay off. Different ways of advertising, like promoted posts, things like that. However, the article I read was commenting that the biggest boost has come because of all the mobile ad revenue that they're getting. It's again, just such an increasing market for them and for everyone is mobile advertising. So interesting to see that is what has sort of helped them with this big boost in revenue that they have had in their fourth quarter. Also in the news, Google Plus has moved to number 2 in the overall number of active users among social media sites. So you can see here the graph that Facebook is still well out ahead, and Google Plus now coming in at number 2. I do wonder just a little bit, how much this has to do with the fact that Google is sort of forcing people into having Google Plus accounts. If you have something like a YouTube account or a Gmail account, then you've automatically got a Google Plus profile as well. And so I wonder if, as part of that transition, people were sort of in and active and setting up their accounts that they now had sort of by default. So it'll be interesting to see how these Google Plus numbers continue. Whether we start to see Google Plus having a larger number of users, and whether that translates into it being a place where people are really spending a lot of time. I think that's still the thing that Google Plus is missing. Facebook still sort of rules the day for the amount of time that people spend on social media sites, and other sites like Pinterest, also have pretty good numbers for that, and then Google Plus still hurting in that area. And third piece of news, MySpace. Remember once there was a social media site called MySpace? It is still around, and it has just been hit with a big lawsuit, and it's a lawsuit from a conglomeration of independent music publishers, and they are suing MySpace for the way that the music of their clients, their artists, are being used on MySpace. Basically saying that MySpace is allowing people to listen to this music for free when no such agreement was made with any of these record companies. So it is sort of interesting to hear about, and I think this sort of adds to the sort of rough ride that MySpace has had in the last several years, as with the increasing popularity of Facebook and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Also interesting that it's happening at a time not too long after Justin Timberlake has become sort of one of the main investors in MySpace. So interesting to see that they're now suddenly being hit with a lawsuit over music. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that. And now moving into the focus. So I am going to be talking about social media and the Super Bowl. Many companies this year, and it has grown every year and just gotten to be sort of more and more of a thing. But this year, many companies are doing big social media promotions around the Super Bowl. And so what I want to do is just talk you through a few of those promotions, what some of the companies are doing, and then we'll have some takeaways about what you can learn from what they're doing. Obviously, most of us are not going to have the $3 million or however much it is to buy a commercial during the Super Bowl. However, there are some tactics that these companies are using that I think that we can all learn from and benefit from. So the first campaign to talk about is Budweiser, and Budweiser sort of going in a direction that maybe you wouldn't guess for a beer company. They're going in the cute direction, and they are inviting their users to, they've requested entries for the name of the new baby Clydesdale, who's going to be among their sort of troop of Clydesdale horses. And now what they're doing, you can see in this Facebook post that was actually just posted yesterday, you can see that they are actually premiering their Super Bowl ad on their Facebook page, putting it out there so that all their social media users can sort of get a first glimpse at it. And this is a real shift in terms of what's going on with the Super Bowl commercials. A decade ago, Super Bowl commercials were sort of highly anticipated, and companies were tight-lipped about them and didn't want to talk about what was going to be in their commercial until the big day during the Super Bowl. You had this big reveal of of what the commercials were going to be, and they thought that was the best way to handle it. With the advent of social media, what's happening is that companies are learning that if they release the commercials early, they can build up a bunch of buzz about the commercials that actually ends up with a much longer shelf life for the commercial than if they had just played it at the Super Bowl. So a lot of companies really taking advantage of that and showing the commercials that are going to happen early. And as you'll see, many of these campaigns that I'm going to be talking about revolve in some way around the commercials. So you can see that there on their Facebook page. Here's an example of their Twitter feed. So you can look at a few other names that have been coming in from people. So now now that they've shown the commercial, people are suggesting names like Chicago, Spunky Brewster, Homie, Tribute, Memory, and Boomerang. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think ultimately users are going to get to vote on the new name. So that's another way of sort of handling the customer engagement piece. So the next campaign, Doritos, for at least the second, maybe the third or fourth year in a row, Doritos is letting their fans create commercials, and the winning fan is going to actually have their commercial be the commercial that Doritos uses during the Super Bowl. And I don't know how many winners they'll have, but at least one will be the fan-made video that gets to be the new Super Bowl commercial for Doritos. The obvious thing about this, at least I think it's kind of obvious, the obvious benefit about this for Doritos is that their advertising is done for them, right? They don't have to pay the production costs. Obviously, they're still paying the money for the ad buy to get the commercial aired, but they're not spending the money on the production costs that they might otherwise do. Fans are having a great time putting these commercials together, making some really, putting together really funny, creative ideas, and Doritos benefits because then they have this finished product that they can air for the Super Bowl. And so really, I think sort of a brilliant marketing move for them, and something that has continued to be popular, for a few years now. Pepsi is doing a campaign around their, it's a photo contest, and the sort of theme is Pucker Up, as you can tell from these photos that you're seeing here. And the way this is working is that people are submitting their photos through social media. They're submitting their photos, and people are then going to vote on people, I guess, have been voting on their favorite photos, that they like the most. And Pepsi's going to put these photos all into a compilation, which will be shown, and it'll be the winning photos will be put into a compilation that will be shown right before the halftime show, which Pepsi is sponsoring this year. Again, you can see it's something where customers are sort of giving Pepsi their own content. It's a pretty easy contest to join because it's just a matter of taking a picture of yourself and that sort of thing. So you can see that's an example of their Facebook page I was just showing, and now here's an example of one of their tweets from the campaign. So again, an example here with Pepsi, and like we saw with Budweiser, doing this across their different social media channels, so they're making sure they get cast as wide of a net as possible. The next campaign, Pizza Hut is holding a video contest. This is similar in some ways to what Doritos is doing, except that Pizza Hut is, I think for Doritos, the idea is that fans are submitting a full 30-second commercial, whereas for Pizza Hut, they're asking people to submit sort of short videos of a hike, whatever your hike video is, somebody hiking a ball, and they're going to do a compilation of these that's going to end up being their commercial. So you can see from mid-January here, they've been doing this promotion and hyping it up, and you can see as it went on. Here you can see that a few days ago they said they've selected all the winning videos for the commercial, and so actually it's going to end up being 18 clips total. I don't know if this will be in a 30-second or a 60-second commercial. And then I believe it was just in the last, just yesterday, they actually did go ahead and debut the commercial. And again, you can see here with the tweet on the right-hand side, you can see that they're putting this across the different social media channels as well. So again, you've got people submitting their own content. Pizza Hut, is responsible for clipping them together, but does not have to do its own sort of, or at least not much of its own production to put this commercial together. So saving money in that sense. Audi has done a fun thing with their commercials. They're not letting their fans, film something themselves and submit video. What they are doing, though, is they debuted this video, which is sort of going to be the opening to the commercial that they're going to have during the Super Bowl. And then what they did was they let fans vote on, I think, 3 different endings of how the video would go. And the video is a sort of a story about this young man's prom night and how it all goes. And so the idea was, there are 3 different endings, and in one way it ends really well, another way it doesn't end so well, and fans got to choose what the best ending was. So again, you can see here about a week ago, they were talking about voting for the ending, and then again, you can see Audi is really big. If you look at their Facebook page, you can tell they're really into using the option to spread a status across your full screen. They use it almost exclusively, almost for every post. And you can see that they've got striking visuals, so it doesn't hurt to do that. And then here you can see that again, they're debuting the commercial before the actual day. So on the 27th, they actually released the commercial and said, okay, here's the one that you voted for. Here's the one that it's actually going to be. So again, releasing it ahead of time, letting the buzz grow up or build up before the game actually happens. So we've seen that now with a few examples. And the last example of a campaign I have is Axe. Axe is a company that makes, I guess, body wash and things like that for men. So their new product is called Axe Apollo, and so they're doing this sort of big sort of machismo thing around astronauts. And so here you can see an example. This is what their Facebook page looks like right now, and the timeline cover image they have for their Facebook page. And they are sort of taking this, they're taking this promotion to, well, I could be really, add a real pun here, and I'd say they're taking it to new heights, because that's exactly what they're doing. letting the winner of this campaign actually train as an astronaut and get a chance to actually go up into space. So you can see an example of their the kind of posts that they've been doing. Here they are sort of spoofing the Beatles' Abbey Road cover, and they're really they're making a big deal out of this astronaut thing. They've got astronauts doing all kinds of different sort of funny things in pictures. And then the custom Facebook tab that they have, has this information where it talks about, you can how you can sign up to be one of these people who gets to train and actually go and then take a ride up into space. So I don't know exactly for how long. I don't know exactly when it's all happening, but it's a pretty big deal. And this is all tied around then some of their Super Bowl advertising as well. So they're playing this up right at the moment when when they know that they're going to have a big push with the Super Bowl too. So that's those are the campaigns that I wanted to point out, and here are just a handful of takeaways that I have about them. Things that you can learn even if you don't have a huge budget to buy a Super Bowl ad, which of course none of us do. So here are some takeaways for you. First of all, as you can see, in almost all of these campaigns, customer engagement is huge, and it's the way that it really is the way that these companies are drawing people into their campaigns and really getting them not only to take an interest in them, but really to have a personal stake in them. And it's various things. It's sort of as simple as Audi letting people vote on which commercial ending they had. So that's a pretty small commitment on the part of a customer, all the way up to Doritos, where people are actually filming these 30-second commercials and submitting really great finished products that Doritos could actually use as a commercial. There really are varying levels of what you can ask your customers to do, and you can see that in many cases people will do them. People really do take an active interest, and they really will have some fun with their campaign. And in that sense, will really help you with what you're doing in your own marketing efforts. And that's my next point here, is really that you can let your customers do your marketing for you. Wouldn't it be great if instead of having to come up with the idea, the concept for your next campaign, wouldn't it be great if your customers came up with that concept for you? Well, guess what? They can, and they will, and there are creative people who are your customers, who live in your area or whatever it is, and people have a fun time doing this sort of thing. And you may not have to offer much more than bragging rights that this is the campaign that that Lauren created, and this is Lauren's campaign, and she's the big winner. So everyone knows now when they see the campaign, she's the one who thought of it. And people will have, can really have a lot of fun with these things. And again, think about what it's doing for Pizza Hut and for Doritos, where their customers are giving them this video, and so they have to do very little in terms of production for those commercials that otherwise might be very expensive to shoot. We all know that many Super Bowl commercials just have enormous production costs. So think about ways that you might even start to get ideas from your customers, and doing that in a really sort of fun and creative way. And then offer special incentives for your likers and followers. So you can see, especially in the example of Budweiser and some of these others, they are debuting their commercials on Facebook or on Twitter or on their social media channels first. So you get a special benefit, a special sort of insider's peek by being a liker of one of these companies. And so, anytime you can reward people, even in a small way, for following you on social media, people really respond to that, and it helps people want to, say good things about you, and also, want to be loyal to you and want to stick around on your page. So, so just think about what special incentives you can offer, even if it's little things like a sneak peek at something that's coming up. It doesn't have to be, anything where you're spending money to do it necessarily. It doesn't, it doesn't hurt Budweiser at all. It doesn't cost them anything to post their video of their new commercial, you know, to put it on YouTube and then post it on their Facebook page. So, so just think about ways that you might sort of do that for people in your area. Remember also, and my fourth takeaway here, remember that promotions that last a while really create deep roots. We've had clients of ours who have done really successful bingo campaigns, and you know, bingo may seem like it's somewhat of an old-fashioned game, but people really, really get into it when it comes to social media, and you know, and it was one of these campaigns that you can extend over a long time, and people will stay engaged with it. And so, like similarly, some of these things that we've seen, you know, Doritos sort of puts out its challenge about the Super Bowl, you know, well in advance, so that people can spend time thinking about it and working on their videos. You saw that some of the others were at least starting, you know, earlier on in January, getting people ready for this big moment and asking them to engage in whatever way they were engaging. Whether it was submitting a photo like Pepsi or voting on something like Audi. And so just think about things that you can actually play with for a while instead of having it be sort of a one-shot and you're done kind of thing. Because the more you can sort of build tension and excitement into what you're doing, the more people are going to be, you know, really engaged and really get into the promotion that you have going on. Takeaway number 5, incentives can drive a campaign. So often your campaign is going to be led by the size of the incentive that you have, right? So you know, in the case of something like Doritos, where you know you get to be the one whose commercial is aired. I don't remember if there's some sort of other prize that goes along with being that winner. But that's, you know, that's a pretty huge incentive. You know, if you can give away a $100 Visa gift card, that's great. If you can give away an iPad, that's even better, right? And for better or worse, it is sort of those higher level items that tend to be much more popular and really tend to engage people more. The smaller your incentive gets, the more likely people are going to be to you know, to get on board with it. Now, as I said before, it could be that your incentive is not something that is, you know, that you're spending a lot of money on. It could be that the incentive is bragging rights. You know, for instance, if you were asking people to come up with a campaign, it could be the incentive is that they get to tell all their friends, hey, I came up with that. And that's actually a really big incentive for people. People love to have, you know, their name on something or their picture on something. And so think about all those people who are going to be in this Pizza Hut commercial, right, where they're going to get a little snippet of their video into a Pizza Hut commercial. Think about how excited they'll be about that. So incentives don't have to be some, you know, a huge thing that you've bought and you're going to give away. But just do remember that the bigger the incentive, the more likely your campaign is to be successful. And the last, you know, the last takeaway here is just that when it comes to social media, the most popular campaigns really do tend to be sort of a mix of outrageous and creative, right? You think back to the Old Spice commercials, which definitely had that mix to them, and what made me think of this in terms of today's webinar is the Axe body wash. You know, training somebody as an astronaut and sending somebody into space, right? So what you've just done is you've just activated the inner 7-year-old in every man in this country, right? Because we all wanted to be astronauts way back when. We all wanted to go up into space. And going up into space is one of those things that feels so incredibly foreign that you sort of think to yourself, well, there's no chance in my life that I would ever be able to do that. Well, here they're giving you this opportunity to do it, right? What a huge sort of outlandish, crazy thing to do. And so obviously that also plays into number 5, right? It's a huge incentive. But it's also really just sort of outrageous and creative. So they're having all this fun, you know, showing astronauts or people dressed up as astronauts in various, you know, fun sort of places and poses and things like that. So just keep that in mind when it comes to a social media campaign. You can do something that is, you know, that is many things will engage your customers, but the more sort of outrageous and creative you get, I think, the more likely you are to really have people getting in and having a fun time and being excited about it. So that's all I have for today. I don't see any questions popping in. I will end a little bit early today. Thank you very much for your time. Again, 2 weeks from today, with any luck, we'll be talking about the Facebook social graph search. So I'm hopeful that will be able to happen by then. For our telecommunications clients, Dave Neustraten's next Straight Talk on telco marketing webinar will be Wednesday, February 27th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Have a great weekend, everyone, and enjoy the Super Bowl if that's your thing. Remember to keep your media social and your talk straight.
The organizer has